You're watching the 643 DP podcast with Derek and Patrick.
For the 643.
The stream is about to begin.
For the 643. Hello there. For the 643.
Just what the doctor ordered.
For the 643. For the 643.
Get your questions ready. Derek and Patrick will be on in 1 minute.
For the 643.
Just what the doctor ordered.
For the 643. Hello there. For the 643. For the 643.
The stream will begin in 30 seconds.
For the 643. For the 643.
Just what the doctor ordered.
This is the 643 DP podcast with Derek and
For the
Patrick.
643.
The show is about to begin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the 643 DP podcast from NYY Recaps. Patrick, what's up?
How are we doing, Derek? I feel like it's been a while.
It has been. It's been a couple weeks. We usually do these on Wednesdays, but last week I think they played at 6 o'clock or something like that. So
Yeah.
there's just no time. So good to have you back. Let's go through the lineup real quick, and then we'll just talk it out. LeMahieu leading off. I feel like he's heating up a little bit. Stanton hits 115 plus like every day, it seems. In the number 2 spot. Judge out tonight, just a day off from what I hear. Gleyber Torres still in kind of a funk power-wise, but numbers slowly creeping back up at shortstop. Urshela in the cleanup spot. Mike Ford at first base. I think he's going to have a big night. He's my pick to click. Aaron Hicks in center field. I have him at catcher, but he's actually in center field. Let me fix that real quick.
Good catch.
That's
Pretty good catcher.
Well, let's hope he catches something in center field tonight instead of watching it fly over his head. All right, we're going to fix that. And then Clint Frazier in right field tonight. He was your pick to click on the unhinged. We'll have to talk
As
about
usual.
We're going to have to talk about whether or not you're jinxing him. Kyle Higashioka for the second night in a row. I want to get your thoughts there. And then Gardner in left field. Let's first get your thoughts on Clint Frazier. Why do you think he's going to break out?
You know, I don't think that there's any reason in particular why I think he's going to break out. I think it's just more of me believing in him, right? Because he hasn't really showed us much at the plate to kind of assume that he's finally going to break out. Shout out to Lori. Damn. Round of applause to Lori. But yeah, Clint Frazier. I think it's just more so me having faith in the guy, right? Based on what he showed us last season. And I think it's just a mental struggle that he's bound to overcome eventually. I don't think that he's this type of hitter. I don't think he's going to keep up at this pace all season. And I think as long as he keeps getting fairly consistent at bats, I think it's only a matter of time before he breaks out of this rut. Because it's just, bro, it's like historically bad. It's not even like he's just bad. He's historically bad.
He's just too good to not hit any home runs for weeks and weeks. He's just too good. So I think he is close. To me, it's just watching his swings. If you watch his foul balls, and I'm just a weird guy. I like to go to the MLB film room and type in the different players who are struggling and look at their foul balls and just watch them over and over again. I'm weird. I'm just a weirdo. And early on in the season, Clint Frazier was clearly pulling off the ball. He was doing the same thing kind of that Gleyber Torres is doing, but not as unbalanced. I guess he's just got a better center of gravity. But he was pulling off, and you could see that his foul balls were having a lot of top spin. That's not the case anymore. Now he seems to just be kind of in between on taking the wrong pitches and fouling away, although slightly just fouling them back, pitches that he normally would drive. So I think any day now, any day Clint Frazier is going to go 4 for 5 with 2 doubles and a 3-run jack. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's
and
gonna
I'll
happen.
keep predicting it until it does happen. So you can bet on that.
Higashioka, second night in a row behind the plate, catching Domingo Germán for the second time in a row. Obviously, he's been playing better. Sanchez, though, off tonight's pitcher, Dean Kramer, one at bat, picked up a hit, and Higashioka did not get a hit in his only at bat. So you would think that just based on the very small sample size, you might go with Sanchez, but they're going with Higgy. Thoughts on Higgy?
Listen, I'm going to be honest. I love Kyle Higashioka. Now shout out to Luke. Luke's the man. But yeah, Kyle Higashioka, I'm a big fan of him. Only because I think his performance has looked fantastic because ever since last year, we're not really used to getting good production out of the catcher spot with Gary struggling and all. So I'm not opposed to him starting tonight for the second day in a row, especially because tomorrow is a day game as well. So a day game after a night game, you're not going to be using the same catcher both days. So I guess Gary starts tomorrow. I believe Jorge Lopez is pitching for the Orioles. So I think that might be a better matchup for Gary if he wants to get things going at that point. So, yeah, listen, Kyle Higashioka is just the man at this point. And if he's going to split time 50-50 with Gary, I don't think that there's any reason we could complain about that.
Yeah, I'm thinking that I'm liking the Higashioka move for now. Who's to say that if you let Higashioka play for a few weeks, that he doesn't just stay hot and maybe get you out of this funk that you're in? I don't think that overall, over a full season, he's going to be a guy that can hit 350 like he's hitting now, or that can hit 35 home runs. But he showed that he had some pop in the minor leagues. He hit 20 home runs in 80 games in his final season in AAA. That's not an accident. I mean, the guy has power. He's got a really good hand-eye, bat-to-ball skill or whatever, where he just throws the head of the bat at the ball, and he drives it. And he drives it to all fields, which I like. So, maybe you catch lightning in a bottle here for a couple of weeks. So I'm liking it.
Yeah. There's not much to dislike about him right now.
All right, let's talk about tonight's starting pitcher, Domingo Germán. What do you expect out of Germán tonight?
Listen, Derek, knowing you and Domingo Germán, you probably think he's going to be pitching a no-hitter. My standards for Germán are usually much lower, only because, I don't know, I just haven't been that impressed. I know he has the stuff, but we just haven't really seen it on a consistent basis. However, I will give Domingo a round of applause from his last start when he kind of was super shaky in the first inning, gave up those 3 runs. But then shout out to him for rebounding from that. It's not that easy. But, yeah, I guess I'm expecting a decent performance out of Domingo tonight. Nothing special. If I had to bet on it, I'd probably say 5 innings, 2 earned runs.
Yeah, I think he's going to throw another quality start just because the Orioles offense doesn't really show me much. And he's got the confidence coming off of his last outing where he pitched well. And he worked well with Kyle Higashioka. If you remember, they got off to kind of a rough start, but then he really settled in. So I feel like we're going to get a good start from Germán. Again, I agree with you that he's probably not going to dominate. I don't see ever a 15 strikeout game from Germán. He's just not that type of pitcher. But I could see him going maybe 6 innings, 2 or 3 runs, maybe 6 strikeouts, maybe a walk or 2, but a really solid outing, which would be key because last night Corey Kluber gave them 6 2/3. So if you can start getting length out of your rotation for at least 1 or 2 turns, you can start to give that bullpen a little bit of rest, and they have been kind of overexposed a little bit. A lot of innings from my man Lasagna. All right, Odor and Talkman. Odor. So the Yankees trade for Odor a couple of weeks ago, and then last night they trade Mike Talkman. What do you make of these early seasons? That's 2 trades in 23 games.
Yeah, it's very surprising. Listen, I had the same reaction for finding out both about the Odor trade and the Talkman trade. Just genuine confusion, right? I think everyone kind of felt that way, especially when we acquired Odor so early in the season, thinking, why do we need another middle infielder? I think that these 2 moves are just an example of Cashman just realizing, we can't be settling for mediocrity for too long. Especially, I know he hears the chirps from the fan base and kind of Cashman, what are you doing? This team's just sitting in mediocrity. So maybe these little moves are the Yankees' way of pushing forward. I'm not too sure, just because I'm not expecting them to be too active at the deadline. this summer. So I think that maybe these little moves are like their way of building up moves towards the deadline. Like I think Wandy Peralta could be a guy who has an impact down the stretch. It could never hurt to have more than a few lefty bullpen arms. So while I am going to miss Talkman, the trade does make sense at this point. While it does make sense, I would much rather see them had given him the proper opportunity to shine. Because I think if Mike Talkman got the correct playing time and kind of got that rightfully deserved fourth outfield spot, we wouldn't have seen this trade happen. He would still be on the Yankees bench right now.
What's interesting is just how early in the season that these trades have happened. Generally, Brian Cashman is a guy who likes to wait as long as possible to make moves. And in general, you don't see a lot of trades early in the season. A lot of general managers like to wait till at least like Memorial Day to figure out, what kind of team they have, how everybody's playing, how everybody's gelling together. And I thought it was really unusual that the Texas Rangers would eat so much of the Odor contract when they traded. I mean, they're paying like 20-something million for this guy. And he's first of all, he's made Cashman look pretty good because he's made a number of really nice plays. He's had a number of key hits. I'm liking the Odor energy.
Yeah.
I'm just liking the energy.
Not Dietrich energy, but yeah, sure.
but again, like Dietrich and Odor are kind of the same type of player, right? They're both guys who hit from the left side, who have a little bit of pop, who can play a little bit of infield. I feel like they got Odor just because they weren't confident yet in what Dietrich could give them. I feel like they're working on something with Dietrich right now at that alternate site. They're trying to rebuild his swing or something. He hits the ball too hard to just not be in the major leagues.
No, I know. And I'm just that's why I was kind of so confused about the Odor trade from the start, because my view of it is you're essentially acquiring a lesser version of DerekDietrich. I always viewed DerekDietrich as a better version of Rougned Odor, simply because while he doesn't have like the same pop, he gets on base at a better rate. He's more versatile defensively, even though he isn't as good defensively. He plays more positions, which I thought the Yankees would kind of appreciate more. And while Rougned Odor does provide a spark, I think Dietrich might be a little bit more of a spark. But like you said, I guess the Yankees weren't too impressed with what they saw out of Dietrich so far, so Odor was kind of the upgraded option of him.
Yeah, so I want to see Dietrich get a chance. I want to see, like, at some point, I want to see what he can do. Like, in spring training, he didn't do much, but I don't tend to believe too much about what I see from guys on offense in spring training, just because, there's some guys are just ice cold in spring because they're just getting their work in, and some guys come out and they take advantage of the wind. Like Gleyber Torres hit 5 home runs in the spring. You thought, this guy's going to hit 50 home runs this year, and now he's just not hitting. So I just want to see what the Yankees have been working on with Dietrich. It would not surprise me if he gets called up at some point in like July or August, and he's just an absolute monster because of some adjustment they've made that nobody knows about, right? There's no cameras at the alternate site. They're not keeping track. So he's going to come up and do something. But the fact that Cashman's making trades so early in the season tells me that he knows the roster's not perfect, and he's tinkering with it. He's trying to, as Aaron Boone says, get better in the margins. You're not going to see a big move. You're not going to see a Clint Frazier traded or an Aaron Hicks traded this time of year. Nobody's going to take on huge money. It's just he's trying to tweak and just add that little, like adding a dash of oregano to the spaghetti sauce. He's trying to add just a little bit of something to change the mood in the clubhouse, to maybe have a guy to go to in middle innings. And I actually like the Peralta move because of his StatCast data. I know his ERA career is bad, but I think that there's probably a lot of teams that have misused him along the way. You pair him, a guy who has a great changeup, with Matt Blake, who's developed a number of awesome changeups just over the winter. And what do you get? Do you get like a super duper monster like cyborg changeup? I mean, what are you going to get from Peralta? So I like him as also a bridge guy. A couple of days ago in your chat, it was after somebody came out of the game early. It might have been the night that Jameson Taillon got hit. I typed in the chat, "Don't worry, Cashman will find some kind of dominant reliever later on the season." And you guys thought I was joking, but no, he does this. He's been doing it for 20 years. He'll trade for somebody that you think is a nobody, like Jonathan Loaisiga. He'll just pick up some guy, Chad Green. Who the hell's Chad Green? Or Luis Sessa. And they turn them into a great relief pitcher. That's one of Brian Cashman's strengths that no other GM has shown me, is the ability to acquire pitchers and turn them into great relievers. On the flip side, he's not great at getting starting pitchers other than Garrett Cole, but that was kind of a no-brainer. I mean, like, if you don't get Garrett Cole, what are you doing? But a lot of the times he takes gambles on guys like Jarrett Wright, on Randy Johnson past his prime. Well, that might have been more of a George thing. On Carl Pavano. He gambles on guys to come back from injury histories. Troy Tulowitzki, right? And now Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon. I'm feeling a little bit better about Kluber after last night. Still have my worries about Taillon going deep into the game, but I feel like he's an awesome opener because the first couple of innings, he's awesome. So if you had your whisper into Brian Cashman's ears, who are some guys that you would maybe take a look at if you were the Yankees GM to, maybe add to this roster later on?
It's an interesting topic just because, especially during this time of the year, we don't know what teams are kind of going to be selling off at the deadline. But just going based off what we can project moving forward, I think the Nationals are probably going to be out of it come trade deadline season. And with that, I think I might be making a move for Max Scherzer. Listen, I don't know if that's a hot take. I don't know if a lot of people like Scherzer. I know he's not the same Scherzer that he once was when he won Cy Young, but I think he would be an awesome fit in the Yankees rotation. I think possibly what you could be seeing from him is maybe like the same scenario when Verlander went to the Astros in 2017. Maybe just like a fresh change of scenery, working with Matt Blake. I think it could be an entire game changer for Scherzer, especially pitching in the Bronx at a postseason atmosphere. That's exactly what I want to see. And going into the ALDS, Game 1, Garrett Cole, Game 2, Max Scherzer. Does it get more deadly than that?
Game 3, Luis Severino.
I don't know about that.
Game 4, Yankees bullpen.
Don't even listen. If they use a bullpen game in the playoffs this year, especially with all the starting pitching, I'll be sick. But I think Game 3 would be Monty.
Yeah, I'm a big Monty guy. I like Monty because he can give you a lot of innings. Like, he can give you, if he's efficient, he'll throw you 6 or 7 innings without breaking a sweat. So I did some research today just because I wanted to kind of just put myself in the mindset of Cashman. Again, like, I'm just a weirdo. I just spend all day looking at baseball stuff when I'm not working. And there are 2 names that jumped out at me. The first is John Gray from the Colorado Rockies. So he's had some up and down seasons. He's had a couple of really nice seasons in Colorado, but he's had a couple of off seasons in Colorado. He's going to be a free agent. And he's off to kind of a rough start, but his peripherals, I think, look pretty good. He's also, he's kind of an older statesman. He's like 29, he's like he's a little bit past his prime, but he's still like a mature, like he knows how to pitch. Yeah. He would be somebody I would take a look at. And then also there's a young guy who was a Rule 5 pick for the Tigers. He's an outfielder, and he reminds me a lot of Curtis Granderson. He's got off to a hot start, and he's slowed down a lot lately, but his name is Akil Baddoo. Are you familiar with Akil Baddoo?
Yes.
I've been watching highlights of this guy. Yeah. Oh, my. He is a human highlight reel.
No, he's awesome.
I don't think the Tigers would trade him, especially since they got him as like a Rule 5 pick, but if you could give them a prospect, even if he comes back down to earth, which he may very well do, he's already come down a little bit, his skills, he's like a left-handed Randy Arozarena. The guy is super fast. He's got massive power. He's a left-handed bat. He's a good defensive player. He's got a cannon for an arm. All the tools, and he's 22 years old. And the Tigers got him for nothing. And the Tigers aren't really close to winning. So if you say to the Tigers, look, we'll give you a starting pitcher to go with Casey Mize. We'll give you maybe a Clark Schmidt or a Mike King, somebody of that ilk, and you can bring in a Baddoo to play left field. Then you move Frazier for a Scherzer. Jesus Christ.
Well, listen, Derek, you're going down a rabbit hole here. My only thing that would kind of shoot that down is countering with like the playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Why would the Tigers trade Baddoo for a guy like Michael King?
Yeah, I know. Well, he was a Rule 5 pick. He was a Rule 5 pick, and he may come back down to earth. If he's hitting 200 and his power really hasn't taken off by midseason, like, obviously if he's a star, if he becomes a young stud, they're not going to deal him because he doesn't make anything, and they got him for nothing. But even if he comes back down to earth, he strikes me as the type of guy you can do something with because he's got that natural, like, pop in his bat. and he's got the raw tools, the speed and the power, left-handed bat in Yankee Stadium who can also go the other way. I don't know. Maybe I just was drinking the Kool-Aid watching too many clips of this guy and imagining him in Yankee pinstripes.
No, I get it. I think it really all just depends on the performance of Clint Frazier and Aaron Hicks. If both of them are still trash by the deadline, I could see maybe them making a move for an outfielder.
I see two people in the chat. First was Jaden Sanchez, also Spades, BTW. Luis Castillo. I haven't looked at Castillo's numbers this year. What do you know about Castillo this year?
As far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure he hasn't been that good. I do want to pull up his stats really quick. Okay, so he hasn't been good at all this year. Through 5 starts, he has a 6.29 ERA. He's given up 17 earned runs in 24 innings. Now, this could be just another case of a guy needing a new environment. But I think Luis Castillo, regardless, is a very good pitcher. If anything, I think him having a bad season this year would be a good thing for the Yankees because, A, it lowers his value if you want to trade for him either at the deadline or in the offseason. They're definitely not going to be asking for Gleyber Torres anymore,
right?
Unless Gleyber continues just to be bad and his value goes down completely too. But I think Castillo could make sense. However, I don't know if the deadline would be the time to grab him, especially if he's struggling like this.
Yeah, I mean, I still like his stuff. He's still 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He's still got that good sink on the ball. I mean, that stuff doesn't go away, and it's a small sample size, 5 or 6 games, whatever he's pitched.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati is not a team that's known for being overly analytical with their pitching development and things like that. So I think if you pair a guy with that kind of natural stuff with the Yankees analytics department that knows how to develop pitchers, I mean, what pitcher on the Yankees has not gotten better over the last couple of years? They've all been. I mean, even Garrett Cole has gotten better. I mean, Jordan Montgomery throws harder. You've got. I mean, that's pretty much it for the. Herman added the changeup, which has looked really good, even though he missed most of last season. The whole bullpen looks really good. Chapman added the splitter. This is the best I've ever seen Chapman look. And then Chad Green throwing the breaking ball for strikeouts. The pitching and the pitching coaching is on point. If we could just find a Matt Blake version of a hitting coach, I think we might be in good shape.
But who would have thought we'd ever be down this road, right? Usually with the Yankees, it's always that the pitching is god-awful and the hitting just can't produce. As far as I'm concerned, as of late, the Yankees have been able to produce pitching, especially in the relief department, but they haven't been able to produce consistent hitters at the major league level as of late. Obviously, this could change with the flip of a nickel.
I want to see Frazier break out. That would solve so many problems because right now I'm just so worried about the offense. Look, the batting averages tonight, and I know some people would just crap on batting averages, but to me it still means something if you're walking to the plate and you look up at the scoreboard and you see that you're hitting 133 as Mike Ford is, or 153 as Aaron Hicks is, or 132 like Clint Frazier is, or 194 like Brett Gardner is. I mean, it does something to your confidence at the plate when you walk up there seeing those numbers because they've been drilled into your head as a kid. You got to hit 300. You got to hit 280. Is there anybody ever going to hit 400 again? It's always mattered. So when you see that you're hitting one something, as much as the Yankees want to pound into it, into you, hey, look, we only care about walks and home runs, so look at the OPS number. It's got to affect your confidence. And I want to see guys up there putting up hits. I want to see some hits. And I want to see Clint Frazier walking up to the box tomorrow, with at least a 200 batting average. I want to see 5 for 5 with two bombs tonight. That's what I want out of Clint Frazier. I want a monster night.
Bro, that's a prediction that I would give out there. I don't know if he's going to be 5 for 5. I'm still predicting the solo shot. So I remember Shane Spencer went 5 for 5 with 2 home runs in 1998, and that got him on a roll. So he came up in June of that year, maybe May or April, just for a couple games. But he came up in June, and he was up for 3 or 4 games, didn't do much, goes down to AAA. He comes back at the end of August, and he was maybe 1 for 11 on the season. He starts in game 2 of a doubleheader against the Royals, and he goes 5 for 5 with 2 home runs. Next day, I think he hits a grand slam. 2 days later, he hits another grand slam. 2 days after that, 2 more home runs. And he went on one of those streaks, and it lasted all the way through the division series. He won the division series by himself. The Yankees, with that great vaunted offense, didn't put many runs up in that division series against the Rangers. It was all Shane Spencer. So if you can get somebody like Clint Frazier, just get him on a roll. He's got that natural pop,
that natural energy. If he starts feeling it, he can go on a run.
Listen, you talk about Shane Spencer and kind of like how his resurgence started. You know what I credit that to? The Kansas City Royals, bro. I mean, it's obvious you mentioned them. So, I mean, shout out to the Royals. They maybe the Yankees just need to play the Royals in order for Clint to kind of begin his resurgence. I think it's going to be a while until that happens, but we'll see.
The Royals pitching in 1998. I mean, it had to be miserable. It was the pitching in the 90s for the Royals was abysmal. All right, guys, we're going to head out of here. The Yankees play the Orioles tonight in about 15 minutes. I'm going to go settle in and get my notes ready. Appreciate everybody joining tonight. Patrick, here's to – I know you like to do a toast at the end. So
yes.
So
let's do a little cheers, Derek.
Yeah, here's to staying positive and testing negative, my friend.
Bang. Let's go. Love water.
All right. Take it easy, everybody.